Let me tell you something. It ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish. See, I grew up with nothing. I'm talking about nothing. Some days my fridge was so empty it had an echo. I wasn't broke because I wanted to be. I was broke because I didn't know better. My mind was broke before my pockets were. And here says the truth. Before you ever see a billionaire bank account, you gotta build a billionaire mindset. Let me tell you something, man. The first thing you gotta fix, if you wanna go from broke to billionaire, ain't your bank account. I know that's what you think, but man, the first thing you gotta fix is your mind. Because I'm gonna be real with you. If your mind is broke, I don't care if somebody wires you $1 million right now, you're gonna find a way to be broke again. That's why so many folks win the lottery and end up back where they started. They got more money, but they kept the same broke mindset. When I was broke, and I ain't talking about just low on cash broke, I mean sleeping in my car, counting change for gas broke. My pockets weren't the real problem. The problem was how I thought about life. My mindset was all about surviving the day, not building the future. And when your whole thought process is about just getting through, you can't even see the opportunities that could change your life. I remember this one time. I got my first big comedy check. Man, I'm telling you, it was the most money I'd ever had at once. I felt like I was rich. I went straight out and bought clothes, bought a watch, took everybody to dinner. Man, I was the king for about 2 weeks. And then right back to broke. Why? Because I didn't think about growing that money. I thought about spending it. See, that's the broke mindset right there. I got it, so let me enjoy it now. The billionaire mindset says, I got it, so let me multiply it. The difference between broke thinking and billionaire thinking is in the questions you ask yourself. Broke thinking says, I can't afford that. Billionaire thinking says, how can I afford that? Broke thinking says, I'll never make it. Billionaire thinking says, I'm gonna figure this out. And I learned real quick the words you speak to yourself, that little conversation you have in your own head every day, that's what shapes your reality. If you keep telling yourself you're broke, your mind will make sure you stay that way. But if you start telling yourself, I'm building, I'm on my way, your brain starts looking for ways to make that true. Your mind is like soil. It doesn't care what you plant, it's going to grow whatever you put in there. You plant doubt, you're going to get fear. You plant excuses, you're going to get regret. But if you plant faith, discipline, and vision, you're going to harvest success. That's why I stopped letting people dump negativity into my head. You know those people who always got something bad to say, always talking about how it can't be done. Man, I don't care if we've been friends since the 3rd grade. You can't plant weeds in my garden. Once I started thinking different, I started moving different. I stopped waiting for somebody to give me permission to live my dream. I stopped saying one day and started saying today. And here's another thing I found out. Your environment will always match your mindset. If you hang around 5 broke people, you're gonna be number 6. But if you hang around 5 people who are winning, you're gonna be number 6 in that circle too. When I was broke, I had to start hanging around folks who were playing bigger than me, people who made me a little uncomfortable, people who challenged me to grow. Because being comfortable will keep you broke forever. The truth is, the money you have will always match the mindset you keep. So if you want to see more in your account, you got to see more in your head first. You got to stop thinking like you're broke and start thinking like you're wealthy. Wealthy in vision, wealthy in discipline, wealthy in faith. Because once your mind changes, your money will follow. Let me tell you something. Your current situation is not your final destination. I don't care where you're at right now. I don't care how bad it looks. I don't care how empty your pockets are. This is just a chapter, not the whole book. See, the problem is too many people start believing that right now is forever. They confuse where they are with who they are. And that's dangerous, because if you start thinking your situation is your identity, you'll stop trying to change it. When I was sleeping in my car, I had people who looked at me like I was done. They thought, that's Steve. He's homeless. He's just another broke guy chasing some crazy dream. But in my mind, I never said, I am homeless. I always told myself, I'm in between blessings. That's the difference. I didn't see that car as my permanent address. I saw it as temporary housing on my way to something bigger. And that mindset kept me moving. I'm telling you right now, you are not your struggle. You are not your bad day. You are not your bank account. You are a work in progress. And if you believe that, if you hold on to that, then no matter what your life looks like right now, you'll keep pushing towards something better. But here's what happens with most folks. They get stuck because they let the world label them. You're broke. You're average. You're never going to be anything. And instead of rejecting it, they start wearing that label like it's their name tag. The moment you accept that, you've already lost. You got to fight to protect how you see yourself. Because how you see yourself determines what you go after. When you know deep down that this is not the end, you start moving like it's not the end. You start taking steps, even small ones, toward your goal. That's what I did. I didn't have money for a big stage, but I could perform anywhere they'd let me. I didn't have TV cameras on me, but I could keep making people laugh one show at a time. And every little step was proof that I was headed somewhere, even if I wasn't there yet. See, you can't wait until your situation changes to start changing your attitude. That's backwards. Your attitude has to change first because that's what changes your situation. You can't sit there saying, I'll be happy when I get the job. I'll be confident when I get the money. I'll start working hard when I see results. No, you got to be happy now, confident now, and working hard now. That's how the results show up. I remember one day I was broke, tired, frustrated, and I almost quit. I really thought about walking away from comedy, getting a regular job and just surviving. But then I thought, if I quit now, I'm making this situation permanent, and that scared me more than the struggle. Because I could handle being broke for a season, but I couldn't handle knowing I gave up and settled for less than what God had for me. Life is seasonal. Winter don't last forever, and neither will your tough times. But you gotta make sure you're planting seeds in the winter so you got something to harvest in the summer. Too many people spend their whole winter complaining about the cold instead of working on their future. Then when the season changes, they got nothing to show for it. So I'm telling you right now, stop calling this the end. It's just a stop on the journey. Keep moving, keep working, keep believing, because your current situation is just where you are, not who you are. And if you can hold on to that truth, one day you'll look back and laugh at how small this season was compared to the blessing that was waiting for you. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest differences between people who stay broke and people who get rich, and I'm talking really rich, is what they do with their money. Broke people spend money to look rich. Billionaires use money to get free. That's it. That's the whole game right there. See, when I was young, I used to get a check, and the first thing I'd do is go out and buy something shiny. New shoes, new watch, big dinner. You know, that look at me money. I was trying to prove to the world that I had made it, even when I hadn't. But I learned something real quick. Every time I spent money to impress people, I was actually robbing my future. Because that money could have been growing, working, building something for me. Instead, it was sitting in a restaurant receipt or in somebody else's cash register. See, broke people want people to see their money. Billionaires want to see their money grow. That's a whole different mentality. And let me break this down for you. Rich looking is not the same as rich living. You can have the fancy car, the designer clothes, the big TV, and still be drowning in debt. And trust me, I know folks like that. They look like they got it all together, but if you check their bank account, you'd be shocked. Billionaire thinking flips it. They don't care if you think they're rich. They care if they're free. Free from debt, free from stress, free to take opportunities without asking anybody for permission. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. I'm not saying you can't have nice things. What I'm saying is, if you get paid on Friday and by Monday you're broke again, you're in the spending to impress cycle. And that cycle will keep you broke forever. You got to start putting your money into things that make more money. That could be investing in stocks, buying property, starting a business, or even learning a skill that's going to pay you for years. That's how billionaires think. I remember a mentor told me once, Steve, money is like a soldier. You can send it out to fight for you, or you can waste it on a parade. At first I didn't get it, but then I realized every dollar you spend can either go work for you and bring back more dollars, or it can just disappear. And I don't know about you, but I like my money to come back with friends. Let me give you something practical. Next time you're about to make a big purchase, ask yourself, is this gonna feed me later or just feed my ego now? If it's just for the ego, you might want to hold off. Ego spending is the quickest way to stay broke. Smart spending, investment spending, that's what takes you from broke to wealthy. And you know what else? Stop trying to impress people who don't care. Half the folks you're trying to impress are too busy worrying about their own problems to notice. The other half, they'll clap when you're doing well, but secretly hope you don't do better than them. Don't waste your money on their approval. Here's the truth. When you start investing instead of spending, at first it might not look like much is happening. You might not have that shiny new thing to show off, but give it time. Give it a few years. All of a sudden, you'll be in a position where your money is making more money than your job ever could. That's freedom. That's when you're living like a billionaire, not because of what you wear, but because you wake up every day knowing you're secure. So remember this, broke people buy things, billionaires buy freedom. And the sooner you start thinking like that, the sooner your money will stop disappearing and start working for you. That's the real glow up. You know what separates the people who stay stuck from the ones who make it big? Vision. I'm talking about being able to see something before it even exists. You gotta see it before you see it. If you wait until the blessing shows up to believe in it, you're already too late. Vision is the thing that keeps you moving when nothing around you looks like your dream. When I was living in my car for 3 years, man, I didn't have a dime to my name. But every night, before I fell asleep in that back seat, I closed my eyes and picture myself on a stage in front of thousands of people. I'd see the lights, hear the crowd, feel the mic in my hand. I didn't just imagine it, I believed it was coming. And because I believed it, I acted like it. I kept showing up for open mics, kept writing jokes, kept knocking on doors. See, vision is the blueprint for your life. Without it, you're just wandering around going wherever life blows you. But when you've got vision, you're building something even if all you've got is bricks of faith. The thing about vision is, it's free to see it, but it's expensive to live it. It's going to cost you comfort, it's going to cost you friends, it's going to cost you some sleep, but it'll pay you back more than anything else ever could. The problem with most folks is they let what they see right now limit what they believe for the future. They look at their bills, their job, their situation, and say, well, this is all there is for me. No, it's not. That's just what's in front of you today. Vision lets you see past that. Vision says, I know where I am, but I also know where I'm going. Now, let me tell you something about holding on to vision. People are going to think you're crazy. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to say, why don't you just be realistic? But listen to me. Realism never built a skyscraper. Realism never invented electricity. Realism never turned a broke kid into a billionaire. That's vision's job. And you can't expect everybody to see it because it was given to you, not them. When I first told people I was going to be on TV, man, they looked at me like I had lost my mind. Here I was, broke, sleeping in a 1976 Ford Tempo, talking about being on national television, but I didn't care if they believed it. I needed to believe it, because when your belief is strong enough, it doesn't matter how many no's you get, how many times you fail. You keep going because you can already see the finish line in your mind. You got to start walking and talking like you already got it. Not in some fake bragging way, but in a way that lines your spirit up with your future. You want a business? Start studying business now. You want to be debt-free? Start acting like somebody who manages money well now. You want to live in abundance? Start being grateful for what you have now. That's how vision works. You live like the promise is already yours, and one day it will be. And let me tell you something else. Vision will carry you through the times when results are nowhere to be found. There were years where I felt like I was grinding for nothing. No big break, no applause, no sign that things were getting better. But my vision wouldn't let me quit. It kept reminding me, Steve, this is temporary, stay with it. And sure enough, one day the door opened and I was ready because I had been living in my vision all along. So if you're in a dark place right now, stop staring at the darkness and start seeing the light that's coming. You might not be there yet, but if you can see it, you can reach it. Don't let your current situation steal your vision. Protect it, feed it, work for it. Because once you've got a clear vision, the rest of your life is just catching up to what you've already seen. Let me tell you something. I don't care how many dreams you write down, how many vision boards you make, or how many prayers you say, if you ain't willing to outwork everybody in the room, it's not gonna happen. Success don't come to the most talented. It don't come to the smartest. It comes to the one who refuses to be outworked. That's the truth. When I started in comedy, I wasn't the funniest guy in the game. There were dudes out there who could tell a joke so good you forget your own name. But here's what I had. I showed up more than they did. If they hit the stage once a week, I hit it 3 times. If they practiced for an hour, I practiced for 4. I decided early that nobody was going to out-hustle me. See, people love the idea of success, but they don't love the grind it takes to get there. Everybody wants the trophy, but nobody wants to stay in the gym until midnight shooting free throws when your legs feel like concrete. Everybody wants the stage, but they don't want to be the one driving all night to do a 5-minute set in front of 7 people and a bartender. But that's what it takes. The grind is the price you pay for the dream. There were nights I drove across 3 states just to do a set that paid $50. By the time I got home, I had spent more on gas than I made on stage. But I wasn't thinking about the $50. I was thinking about the experience, the stage time, the chance to get better. I understood that every small step was part of the bigger picture. The truth is, most folks quit right before the blessing shows up. They put in a little work, they don't see results, and they decide it ain't worth it. But success is like a slow-cooked meal. You can't rush it. If you pull it out too early, it ain't ready. You got to stay in the heat long enough for it to be done. And let me tell you, there's going to be days when you're tired, when you feel like nothing's working, when it seems like everybody else is winning. But that's when you find out if you really want it, because anybody can work hard when it's fun. But the real winners work hard when it's boring, when it's painful, when nobody's watching, and when it feels like nobody cares. I had plenty of nights when I bombed on stage, when the crowd didn't laugh at a single joke, when I went home embarrassed and mad at myself. But instead of quitting, I get up the next day and go at it again. You got to be willing to fail in public and still come back swinging. That's what separates the grinders from the dreamers. And here's something you need to understand. Work ethic is a habit, not a mood. You can't just work hard when you feel like it. You build a habit of showing up, giving your best, and doing more than is required. Because the day you don't feel like it might be the day the opportunity shows up. I learned early on that your talent might open the door, but your work ethic is what keeps you in the room. You can have all the connections, all the ideas, all the potential in the world, but if you're lazy, it's useless. The grind is what turns potential into results. So if you want something big, you better be willing to work like it's already yours and somebody's trying to take it from you. Outwork them, outlast them, outgrind them. Because at the end of the day, the dream goes to the one who stayed in the fight the longest. Let me tell you something. Out of everything I've learned in this life, the most powerful asset you can ever have is faith. And I ain't just talking about the kind of faith where you hope things work out. I'm talking about that deep, unshakable, I know it's coming even if I can't see it yet kind of faith. Faith is what will keep you moving when logic says stop. Faith is what makes you take that step when you don't even know where the staircase ends. When I was broke, living out of my car, everything around me told me to give up. My bank account said, "You're finished." My empty fridge said, "You're finished." The people who didn't believe in me said, "You're finished." But my faith said, "Hold on, Steve, this ain't the end. God ain't brought you this far to leave you here." And I believe that. Even on the days I cried, even on the days I was angry, even on the days I didn't feel like believing, I held on to that little voice that told me something better is on the way. Faith is the one thing that makes billionaires different from the rest. People think it's just business skills or connections or luck. But I've met wealthy people from all walks of life, and they all have one thing in common. They believe in something bigger than themselves. They believe in the unseen. They believe the risk will pay off. They believe the seed will grow even when the dirt looks empty. The truth is, faith and fear can't live in the same house. You either let fear drive or you let faith drive. If fear is behind the wheel, you'll never take that chance, never start that business, never go after that dream. But if faith is driving, you'll step out, you'll try, you'll risk, because you know that even if you stumble, you're still moving in the right direction. I can't tell you how many times I've had to move on faith. When I left my job to chase comedy full time, I didn't have a backup plan. My family thought I lost my mind. But I knew in my heart that if I didn't take that leap, I'd be sitting around years later full of regret, wondering what if faith gave me the courage to jump without knowing where I'd land. And let me tell you something, God always put a net there. Sometimes it wasn't the net I expected, but it was always enough to keep me going. Faith will also make you do things that don't make sense to other people. You'll pass on quick money for something that pays off bigger later. You'll walk away from a safe situation because you know you're called to something greater. You'll stay in the fight when everybody else is walking away. That's faith. It don't make sense in the moment, but it makes perfect sense in the end. Here's the other thing. Faith is not just believing, it's acting like you believe. You can't say, "I have faith," and then sit around doing nothing. Faith without action is just a wish. If you believe God's got something for you, get up and move toward it. Pack your bags like the opportunity's already knocking. Work like the blessing is already on the way. That's how faith works. You do your part and you trust God to do His. I'm telling you right now, your dream might be too heavy for just your hands, but it's never too heavy for God's. When it gets hard, and it will, faith will be the thing that whispers, "Keep going." When the money's low, faith will say, "The blessing is coming." When the world says no, faith will say, "God said yes." So if you're sitting there wondering how you're going to get from broke to billionaire, start here. Believe it's possible. Even when it looks impossible, believe it's possible, because once your faith is bigger than your fear, there's nothing in this world that can stop you from walking into the life you were born to live.